Good morning students and welcome to your online class. So as we have completed our syllabus, now I am going to start the Python revision once again so that it may help you to write the programs in Python in an easy way. So don't miss any video from today onwards.
Today I am going to discuss about the iteration and looping statements. Before I start discussing about these iteration statements, I want to tell you that why we need the looping statements in Python. What is the requirement of these iteration statements? So students, we have already learned about the if and elif statements in which two or more than two conditions were checked at a particular moment of time. However, if there is a requirement where we need to repeat the same set of tasks again and again, then we need some kind of statements to process these kind of tasks repeatedly. That is called as iteration or looping statements. So now, before discussing about the different types of loops that are used in Python, I want to discuss a few important terms which are required, or you can say that are the basic requirement for writing the looping statements in Python. So the first one is the range function. This is a function which is used with the Python for writing the loop statement. It actually generates a list which is a special sequence type. It means that a sequence is followed for performing, or you can say for executing the loop in Python. And some sequence types are strings, lists, tuples. Now let's see an example. First of all, let us see the syntax of range function. You can see here that we will write range, lower limit and upper limit. The lower limit and upper limit both need to be the integer value. So now let's see the example. I have written here range 0, 5. It means that the value of the list will be printed starting from 0 to 4 because the upper limit in the list is excluded. Now I have written here range 12, 18, which means that the value of the range will be printed starting from 12 till 17. But if you write like this, range 5, 0, where the lower limit has the bigger value and the upper limit has a lesser one. So this is going to print the empty list. You will get the output as an empty list because there is no value which lies between 5 and 0. But if you want to print the range in decreasing order starting from 5 and in decreasing value till 0, you need to write it like this. So to print the list in decreasing order, we will write like this: range, lower limit, then upper limit, then the step value. If we want to decrease it, we will write like this. I have written here range 5, 0, -1. -1 is the step value because I want to decrease the value by 1. Now if you want to decrease the value with the difference of 2, you can write -2 as well. However, this will produce the output starting from 5 till 1. Now the next topic is operator, in which we will learn about the in and not in operator. So students, we have already learned in the last video about the in and not in operator, in which it checks the value that it is present in the list or not. So how we can write it? Suppose I have written here 3 in and the list I have defined with the values 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I run this program, then this expression will give me the answer as true. Why? Because the value 3 is contained, or it is given in the given sequence of list. Now if I use not in operator along with some other number, for example if I write 5 not in 1, 2, 3, 4, then it will give you the answer as true, and if you use the in operator it will return false. Alright, so this is how the operators are used in the statement. Now moving forward, I will explain you the looping statement, that how many kinds of loops are there in Python. Python provides us with two kinds of loop. The first one is for loop and the second one is while loop, which is further divided into two categories. It means that both the loops are categorized in two forms. First one is counting loop. Counting loop means the loop that repeat a certain number of times. For example, the for loop. For loop is called as a counting loop because it repeat for certain number of times. Then the second category of loop is the conditional loop, in which we have the while loop, which means that the loop repeats until a certain condition or until a certain thing happens. They repeat for such a long time till the time the condition is true. So Python has categorized while loop into the conditional loop and for loop under the counting loop. Now we will study the first category of loop, which is counting loop, or you can say for loop. For loop is basically designed to process the items of any sequence. Maybe it is a list or string one by one. So if you want to access the items in a sequence, then you can do it by defining a for loop. How we will do it? Let's see the syntax and example of for loop. So you can see the syntax over here. I have written for variable in sequence, and then there is a colon sign, and then you have to write the statement to repeat. So it means to write any kind of looping statement, or to write the for loop statement, you have to start with for and then the variable name. It can be any variable name, a, b, c, anything of your choice, and then in and the sequence can be any set of list strings, and then you have to write the body of the loop. So let's see the example of for loop. I have written here for I have used as a variable name, and then in is a membership operator which we have learned. Then I have defined a list which is containing three numbers 1, 4 and 7. Then I have written print I statement in the body of the loop. So students, when you will try to execute this program, it will give you the output as 1, 4 and 7. How? I, you can see here, it is a looping variable name which will read the values given in the list one by one. So once it will read for the first time, the value will be 1, the second time it will be 4, and then the third time it will read the value 7. So that is the reason it will be printed continuously. Let's see another example of for loop in which I have defined a string. You can see here I have written for ch in Python, and then I have written the printing line, print statement, print ch. So here ch is a variable name which will read the each character from the string one by one in a sequence, and it will be printed in one order. For example, P, then Y, then T, then H, then O, and then N. So this is how, students, this for loop works. Now I'll show you one more example of for loop using a range function. So now let's write a program in Python to print the numbers from 1 to 10. You can see here, students, that I have written for loop, then I have taken the variable name as I. In range, I have written the value starting from 1, 11. Why I have written 1, 11, as I have to print the numbers from 1 to 10? Because the upper limit is always excluded in for loop. So here I will be used as a loop variable which will read the numbers starting from 1 to 10 one by one, and it will be printed in a sequence by the interpreter. So this is how, students, we will use the range function in for loop.
For today, students, you write this program in the Python shell and try to execute it. If you find any kind of error or difficulty executing the program, you can mail me. Till then, stay safe, stay happy. Thank you so much.